Hey, Coastal. Hope you guys are doing well. And man, we are sure missing seeing you guys around here on Sundays. Lord willing, we'll be able to be back together soon. We're praying for sooner than later. But just keep praying for those who are infected with this disease, this virus. Pray for their recovery and pray for those who don't have it to not get it. And we also want to continue to thank God for the first responders, the healthcare workers, that are on the front lines on this thing. And I want to take just a few minutes and give you some things to be encouraged about today. Have you ever had a bad day? You might be thinking, yeah, having one right now. In some ways, to me, it seems like we're living in the Groundhog Day movie, where you start off the day and it seems like an exact copy of yesterday. Bad news, bad news, bad news, kind of like we're in this time warp. And just when you think you've had a bad day and you've had to sit at home and watch football games replayed and wonder, hey, I wonder who's going to win this time. Maybe you've sat around, you've watched a lot of kids shows with your children and you've kind of had it up to here with the kids shows, or maybe you've watched all the Hallmark movies you want to watch. If you think that's bad, I want to tell you the story of what happened to a man named Jay Rathman. It is an amazing story. Several years ago, Jay is out hunting deer in Northern California. And he crawls up the edge of this hill, this ledge, to look out over this big gorge. And as he gets up to the top and he peeks over to look over into the gorge, he notices something moving to his right side. And he looks, and it's a 4-foot rattlesnake. And it strikes at him, barely missing his eye, his ear on the right, just under his eye, barely misses his ear, and the fangs of the rattlesnake get lodged in the turtleneck sweater, the neck of the turtleneck sweater that he's wearing. They're just lodged in there like this. The strike from the snake was so powerful that the body of the snake wrapped around, it landed on his left shoulder. And it started coiling around his neck. I know some of you, this is going to give some of you nightmares, I'm sorry. But anyway, so he reaches over instinctively with his left hand and grabs the snake behind the head. He can feel the warm venom from the snake kind of like going down his arm. And he tries to pull it back away, and all of a sudden he loses his footing and he starts sliding down the gorge backwards with the snake. And he gets lodged with his foot in a tree with his head down below his foot. And he's trying to dislodge, and he gets his rifle with his right hand and dislodges the fangs out of the turtleneck sweater. And then he's got this good grip on the snake, and he's holding it far away as he can. The snake continues to strike at him. 8 times it tried to strike at him. 4 of the times, the nose of the snake hit him on the cheek just below his right eye. Can you imagine? This is crazy, isn't it? Finally, he realizes, I'm eyeball to eyeball with this thing, and this snake is not blinking. I don't have any choice. So he strangles and basically chokes the snake to death. So this is the weirdest thing. He grabs the snake, the dead snake, and he takes it to the game warden's office. And so as he walks in, he's holding this 4-foot dead rattlesnake, and here's just what he says to the game warden. He says, hey, I got a problem with some of your wildlife around here. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I would have said that. I think what would have been on my mind was saying, hey, do you happen to have a change of underwear? I mean, I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't have said it. Well, you needed the laugh, and so did I. So there you go. But anyway, can you just imagine? The thing lasted for probably 20 minutes. The whole episode seemed probably, to me, it would have seemed like 20 hours. So this was a true story. And when I thought of the story, I thought, man, isn't that the way life is sometimes? Cruising along, doing your own thing, and then suddenly you're eyeball to eyeball with a snake. In our case, we're eyeball to eyeball with this pandemic that has absolutely flipped our lives upside down. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. And we've probably felt every single emotion that we're capable of feeling. We've probably even created some new emotions during this thing. It's easy to get discouraged. Very easy. It doesn't take any effort at all to get discouraged. It takes a lot of effort to not go to discouragement. But I want to share a few verses with you this morning from Psalm chapter 3. And I hope that it provides some relief to your weary soul today. King David was a great leader of the nation of Israel. His kingdom was huge. His wealth was immense. His followers were very loyal. But then he had some failures, and we know about some of his failures. And even though he repented of those failures and kind of had some really good years as well, it seemed like the hits just kept on coming in his life. Those who had been his biggest supporters ended up becoming fair weather fans, and they turned their back on him. There was a coup that was organized against him. Man, it was such a blow to his heart. It was horrible. And I think probably the worst thing about this coup was the fact that it was orchestrated and led by King David's own son named Absalom. Psalm 3 is a prayer of David, and he's also describing this event. He's describing his feelings, and he's describing how he made it through what was probably one of the worst times of his life. And I pray that this psalm will help you get through whatever barriers this pandemic has built around you. And by the way, the barriers are only the ones that we allow to be built around us. We don't have to allow this pandemic to build up barriers. We can just say, no, we're not going to let it do that to us. So Psalm chapter 3, I'm just going to read the first 5 verses. King David writing, he said, "O Lord, how my adversaries have increased. Many are rising up against me. Many are saying of my soul, there is no help for him in God. But you, O Lord, are a shield about me, my glory and the one who lifts my head. I was crying to the Lord with my voice, and he answered me from his holy mountain. I lay down and slept, and I awoke, for the Lord sustains me." Do you see the progression in David here? This is an amazing thing to watch his progression in the psalm. He's so discouraged. I mean, he is down. He's lost all hope. The enemy will try to get you to believe that God cannot even help you. God can't help you in this situation. He's too busy. He's done. He doesn't care. But then King David grabs hold of the character and the attributes of God. And he says, hey, God is my shield. He's my protector. He said, God, you're my glory. I love that because he's saying, God, I count you as the one who is most important to me. Not my power, not my prestige, not my position, not my possessions. You're my glory. And then he says, you're the lifter of my head. I love this visual of being the lifter of my head. When we're discouraged and we feel like we got the weight of the world on us, our posture is like this. Our head's down and our focus is on the floor. But when David says, you're the lifter of my head, when we let God take the weight of that burden, our heads are up. He lifts our head up, so now we're seeing forward, not the floor. And then he said, I lay down and slept. This is remarkable to me. His enemies are after him, led by his own son. They're right on his tail, and he's able to have a good night's sleep. To me, that shows the power of the peace that God can give each one of us. And then he ends with this, for the Lord sustains me. He knew that it was God who was his sustainer. God can sustain you. Not positive mental attitude, not good news in the daily pandemic briefing. It's God who sustains. And the underlying key of this entire psalm, don't miss this, the underlying key was where David's focus was. His focus prevented his failure. It prevented a breakdown. If David had stayed focused on his enemies and kept his eyes and his thoughts on his bad situation, the story may have ended up with David dying in the cave. But David stated the problem that was battling for his life, but he chose to focus on and cast his vision on God, not the problem. And his correctly aimed vision brought him the victory. He dispersed the discouragement with his focus. And maybe that's where you are today. You're under the weight of uncertainty and of fear. Where's your focus? Are you focused on those things? Or are you focused on the character and the attributes of God? You don't have to ignore the negative and act like it doesn't exist. Just don't focus on it. Focus on the positive things. And that is that God can and will give you rest and bring you joy even in the midst of problems that may not go away very soon. I challenge you, I challenge myself today. I want to close by asking you to take time on this post to click the link that's here at the bottom of this post. It's going to take you to a video of the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir singing a song from Psalm 3. And I promise you, it will lift your spirits today. And I just want you to say no to discouragement. Make it a point today to send an encouraging word to those who are close to you. We look forward to being with you guys online this coming Sunday, and we're excited. Pastor Tim's going to be kicking off a new series we're starting this coming Sunday entitled Monsters Under the Bed. We hope you guys have a great week. We're praying for you. We love you, and we'll see you online Sunday.